Students, now let us talk about the different types of benchmarking. Benchmarking can be classified into several different types depending upon the type of process to be benchmarked. So it depends. Your type of benchmarking would be dependent upon the type of process which you are performing. The scope, of course, and the process and the benchmark used. So the scope and the process itself will determine that which type of benchmarking you may require. Let us look at a pyramid. That pyramid will actually be telling about different types of benchmarks. Students, at the bottom of this pyramid, we have internal best practices. This is at the bottom of any benchmarking. So these are related to the internal best practices which are being performed by the world-class performers, and you will adopt those type of internal best practices in your organization or company as well. Then above that level is the competitors' best practices. Now, in internal best practices, you might have some of your organizational departments who might be performing better than the other departments or functions. Those which are actually performing better may be like world-class performance as well. So you will adopt those strategies or those processes in your other department practices as well. Whereas in competitors' best practices, you will be looking at the performers who are outside your organization, who are some other company. Then above that level, we have industry best practices. Let's say you are in a high-tech industry. In that industry, what are the best practices which are being performed? Those type of practices, if you benchmark, you will be at the third level of this pyramid. Now, above this would be the best practices of any company in a country. Now, it is more generic in nature. This benchmarking would be about any type of practice which is being performed in any company of the country in which you are working. So you will be adopting or benchmarking those best practices, irrespective of the fact that those practices are from the same industry or not. Then there are world-class practices. Here you will be specifically looking all over the world for the best performers in that specific process or any process from which you can actually take some input for your gap analysis. So this would be at the top of the pyramid. So there are 5 types of benchmarks which can be used by any industry. So any company would be either at the bottom or in the middle or at the top in terms of defining and adopting some of the benchmarks. So students, now we know that what are the different types of benchmarks and how those benchmarks are actually being used by different companies. Thank you.